Well, we do receive voicemails here, and you can call us 24 hours a day with your question and leave us a voicemail at 833 The Core. That's 1 833 843 2673. Here's a voicemail from one of our listeners named Pat.
My question is, in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 2, is a white horse, and he who sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Now, some of the translations say that that is the Antichrist, and others say that is Jesus. Which is it? Since the other three horses represent war and famine and death. Who is the rider on that white horse? And chapter 6, verse 2. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Pat, thank you for that question. I just started preaching through the book of Revelation for our church, and I'm not at chapter 6 yet, so my mind might change in the next several months. But right now, where I'm at is I actually think that this is an antichrist figure or something representative of evil. Now, one of the reasons that people will suggest, well, this is Jesus, is because of the fact that this rider is on a white horse. And later in the book of Revelation, in Revelation chapter 19, you have Jesus, the Word of God, described as riding on a white horse, judging and making war. And so there's that similarity there, and so it's not that interpretation is baseless, that there's nothing to support it. Here in the beginning of verse 1 of chapter 6, it says, I watched when the Lamb, and the Lamb is Jesus, right? I mean, throughout the book of Revelation, you saw that earlier in chapter 5. I watched when the Lamb opened one of the seven seals, and so Jesus is the one who's releasing these riders who are bringing about judgment, in particular judgment against those who persecute the saints, those who came against the church. Opened one of the seven seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures say with a loud voice like thunder, Come. And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he came out conquering and to conquer. Well, in chapter 13, the beast has the ability to conquer, in particular the saints. The evil one is given the opportunity and ability to persecute the saints. Ultimately, right, God is the one who's in control, and certainly Jesus is the one who is opening the seals here. And so we rest in the fact that the Lord is in control. This is one of the things that we do see throughout the book of Revelation is despite the great tribulation and persecution and suffering that the church is experiencing, that God is the one who is still seated on his throne, who's in control. He is the first and the last. Jesus is the first and the last, so the people don't have to be afraid. We don't have to fear. But here I do think that this first rider is not to be identified with Christ, but is to be identified with this evil figure. And of course, the following writers also seem to be identified with this sort of negative figure. And so some people say, well, why then the white horse? Well, remember, and this is something we see throughout the book of Revelation as well, that the evil one wants to imitate Jesus, wants to, in some sense, mimic him, that Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. And so that very well could be why there's this similarity, this correlation. It just emphasizes the deceptive nature of the evil one. And so it's for those reasons that I think, well, probably not Jesus there on the white horse in Revelation chapter 6. But again, as I mentioned, there are biblical reasons that people will say that we think it is Jesus there. And so I think that the big thing for us to take away is, one, the fact that Jesus is the one who's absolutely in control. Very beginning of chapter 6, he's the one that opens the seals. He's the one who's guiding history and ultimately guarding and protecting his people, bringing them to himself even through the suffering that they experience. And so thank you for that question, and I love to see that you're digging into the book of Revelation.
By the way, we have a great Bible study on the book of Revelation as well. We'd love to tell you about that. You can find out more by going to corechristianity.com/studies. It's just an awesome Bible study that will help you understand that book, which can be a little bit confusing at times.